All right, peace everyone. Yeah, so actually I'm going to be talking about a co-op, a consumer co-op, grocery store coming to the North End. My organization, the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, is a Black food justice organization unapologetically for empowering Black folks in the food systems work. So they actually had a 7-acre farm in Detroit's Rouge Park, after-school programs for kids where they learned about food justice and were fed and learned how to cook, a lecture series, and a buying club, which is now growing into a full consumer co-op grocery store. And loosely, a consumer co-op grocery store is a collectively owned grocery store owned by community members where folks actually buy in a share. And through that share, they get democratic ownership over the store, which also means that they get to decide on things like where we're going to invest profit into, or if they want profit back into their families. And so, yeah, I'm going to use that definition. It's not included, so you know, remember it. So basically, my report is, and my presentation today is going to be more so about two things. One is going to be contextualizing this co-op specifically in a longer tradition of Black cooperative economics in this country. I know when folks think about co-ops right now, sometimes they think of they think of co-ops connected to white college towns, but I'm actually going to be repositioning this co-op a part of a longer tradition of economic resiliency used by Black folks. And another thing, I'm going to position this co-op in a larger context of what's happening in Detroit right now, where there's a land grab, there's just lots of effects of gentrification, and then also, you know, political and economic tides are shifting quickly. That's dislocating lots of folks. So I included like pictures of protesters in the Treasure Farm Co-op store in St. Paul, Minnesota, in 1946. So more so about the North End. North End is obviously a unique community in Detroit, but also, you know, is an example of some of the larger problems happening in Detroit. The North End has a bustling art community, always has Oakland Avenue Farmers Market. It has, and this is started by North Enders, like native North Enders. The North End is also almost 100% Black. Is mixed income, but also has no grocery stores. Lots of the money spent on food staple products. It has in the neighborhood is spent at liquor stores, also known as party stores in Detroit, and at convenience stores. So it kind of shows, you know, both dynamics of what's happening in Detroit, where folks are living, you know, within these kind of oppressive systems, but are also like resisting in interesting ways. This is a picture of resistance. And actually, these are boards that are used to board up houses. There's a lot of blight that's happening that is in the North End, and so a lot of the folks that I talked to for my community engagement efforts were folks who started projects like this, where they were getting boards and having folks come out to paint them and then pitting them up. And actually, the next person that's doing my job around community engagement is someone who did these boards right here, who I'm like really excited about. And so, I guess going back to why, why the North End is the perfect place for a co-op. It's because it's, right now, neighborhoods like this need tools for economic resiliency. And this is a perfect tool for many reasons. One, many of the dynamics that happens in the North End, for instance, a lot of the food businesses especially are not owned by North Enders, so once a dollar is spent, it almost leaves the community immediately. So it's actually somewhat of an extraction model, where a lot of the capital that's circulated isn't actually circulated, it leaves. Another, I guess, kind of reality with the co-op, or what the co-op would bring for folks, and would add to the conversation that's already happening in North End, is this idea of rights and this idea of not having a voice in a lot of the things that are going on in Detroit right now. And co-ops are completely based on being that the co-op is only responsible to its membership. So when there's many examples of things that are going on in Detroit right now where businesses are coming in, they're not engaging with the community, and they're saying that they're going to help the community, and there's no institutionalized accountability. So this co-op, as an example of what co-ops have done in the past, would be and will be like an excellent kind of alternative to what's been going on. And so I guess kind of going back to what other folks think about when they think of co-ops. A lot of folks think about when they think about co-ops, they think about bulk food, they think about college towns, they think about things like that. And I guess even doing our community engagement efforts, we really wanted to make sure that that folks who were already familiar with the co-op model in that sense were included, but that this was owned by folks and was captured by folks that lived in that community. And so even with our community engagement efforts, we first met with neighborhood association leaders, we met with all the faith leaders, we met with the lady on the street who had everyone's phone number and knew their grandkids, and we really did that so that we could kind of move the conversation around co-ops from this picture, which is just beans, but to actual like conversations of circulation of wealth and economic resiliency. And so I guess going back to also the idea of the people's alternative, a lot of the development that's happening in Detroit is very not democratic. It's extractive. It's not owned by black folks. And just like statistics about Detroit is over 80% African American. So that race is constantly a conversation when you're talking about new businesses coming in, and the business is already there. And a lot of the development is profit minded. And so I'm arguing that, and when we're furthering community engagement, we're arguing that all the problems that are happening, not all of them, but a lot of the problems that are happening kind of will be answered with this co-op.